This show is intended for mature audiences. Topics of adult content, triggers, and explicit language may be discussed with or without warning. All thoughts and opinions belong to our hosts and do not reflect the original creator's own intentions. Spoilers for the book will be discussed, and while most discussion will revolve around the picked book, we do not guarantee there will be no spoiler warnings for other books or series. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Biblio Madness, a podcast for book lovers where we discuss our current and favorite reads. I'm your host, Laken.
And I'm your host, Rachel, and today we're discussing part 1 of Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. And let's just say, this hit the shelves 5 days early. People panicked, went out trying to buy books, got shut down pretty quickly, which is heartbreaking.
I witnessed it in real life, and I felt so bad for the girl.
Yep. We've seen it all over Tik Tok. We've seen misprints left and right. Luckily, both me and Laken have full, unmisprinted copies.
I feel like, honestly, at this point, it's rare to get, like, a copy that doesn't have a misprint.
Yeah, right? So, we don't have any misprints in our copies. A little bit issues with sprayed edges, but that's alright. We're going to discuss, again, part 1, so if you have read part 1, stay along for the ride. We're not going to spoil anything until later in the episode. If you haven't read part 1 and you don't want spoilers, be aware that we will give a big spoiler warning before, so you can jump out. If you haven't read Fourth Wing, then go back. You're missing a lot of steps here, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry in advance, you need to go back, read Fourth Wing before you come into this, because it's all a spoiler moving forward. So, we are very excited to actually physically have our hands on this book. We went to the midnight release with our nearest Books A Million, and we got to do some fun activities while we were there, and got to participate with other writers and likes. We actually did a quiz where we found out that Laken was what she expected she would be, and that is a
big fan. I came second in the trivia questionnaire that we did.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't miss any, but it was the
Speed.
timing. You had to get yours, like,
Yep.
the fastest. Props to that girl that did it super fast.
Yes.
It was crazy. Because I was clicking them, like, instantly.
Yep.
So I cannot imagine how fast she did hers.
She was reading very quickly, but we did a test on which quadrant we would be in.
Oh, yeah, we did the, like, your Hogwarts house sorting, but this
Basically.
was which quadrant you're in. And I definitely got the quadrant I thought I would be in, because as much as I would like to delude myself into thinking I could be a writer, I would not be. I would be a scribe, definitely.
Yep. And I oddly came in with one of the 4 that never really gets mentioned, and I was a healer. So, very odd to see. Caleb was like, "You're a healer? What?" I was like, "Yeah,
I can see it.
Sorry."
We actually, we get to see a little bit more. This isn't really spoiler. We get to see a little bit more of the healers
Yes,
in Iron Flame.
we do get to see more of the other quadrants. Yep. We also, for the scribes, Caleb also was a scribe, which was ironically funny to me because you and Caleb have so much in like. There's just another thing to add to the never-ending list. So, right along with us as we discuss part 1, a lot of stuff happens to the point that both of us think this book could have been split into 2.
Yeah, I definitely think that the climax for part 1 could have been its own, like, ending of a book itself.
Yep. For sure.
I think Rebecca definitely wanted to keep the incredibly fast pace of things happening, like, back to back, like she did in Fourth Wing, and that's why it's not its own book.
Yeah, I would agree. And I also want to note that Tracy Wolf and Jennifer Armont. I cannot pronounce her last name, but I love you.
The From Blood and Ash
Both
series.
of them are on the book sleeve.
Uh-huh.
Tracy Wolf, very well known for her fast-paced reading.
Yes.
All of her books
is
like crack, but Jennifer is more well known for her romance.
Yes, she is more known for the romance. I have this little bookmark that we got at the midnight release that has their reviews on it, and Tracy Wolf says that Iron Flame was the most brutally addictive fantasy I've read in a decade.
Yeah. And I have, on Jennifer's side, a fantasy like you've never read before.
Brutally addictive is two of the best words I can think to describe this series, though. Like, that's...
When we were reading this book originally, we were like, Laken was like, it's laced with something.
There's crack in the pages.
I'm not going to lie, I think she's right, because I read Fourth Wing so quickly, but my husband, every time he reads, it's like, I could be bleeding out, and his attention would be elsewhere. He'd be like, Liam, I can't with you. Just go to the hospital on your own. Liam is having an issue and I need to pay attention to that.
No, Liam is.
Basically the reality of our life right now with this book. So, I have had the sadness of completing the book. Laken has not finished yet.
I have about 200 pages to go while we're right here.
So with the idea of other people being along the lines of possibly Laken and not being somebody who doesn't have kids or doesn't work from home, who's not able to read at every breathing moment they can, we decided to split it up into part 1 and part 2 because, again, part 1 can definitely be its own book.
It's so much.
It's written in the way it is.
In part 1 as well.
Yeah.
That to just to talk about the whole book in one episode, it would be a long episode.
It would be a very long episode. So, going in, we all know where Fourth Wing ended.
Yeah.
So
do you want to say it? Or do
you go for it. You go for it.
So Fourth Wing ends with Violet seeing her dead brother is actually alive. Ta-da.
Yep.
He's fine. He's been faking his death for 6 years. No big deal. Iron Flame immediately opens back into the scene. Like, there's no skip or time frame. It's Violet and Brennan going into talking, like, immediately from her discovering that he's alive.
Also, for those who did not get the holiday edition of Fourth Wing, I have it on my bookshelves. I will tell you now, Xaden's point of view in the additional chapters is not any extra chapters onto the story. It is not them talking about Brennan in any manners, and it does not give anything that goes into Iron Flame. It is actually chapters written with his point of view in the past chapters, so it does align.
Kind of like the Crave series.
Just like Tracy Wolf does with her series with Hudson and Jackson and all of the other characters like Mekki and Macy, though, that they have their point of views.
Yeah.
It goes back to that chapter and rewrites it in Xaden's point of view. So I think it's chapter 9 that it's in Xaden's point of view and chapter 16 that are in Xaden's point of view. So the Matt fighting when he takes all of her daggers is in his point of view. And then the second one that's in his point of view, which I'm very glad that she made it, is from his point of view when Dane kisses Violet.
Oh,
in that whole scene. And when they find out that it's that she mated with
bonded with 2 dragons.
That she bonded with his mated dragon.
Oh, they're mated dragons, yeah.
Yeah. So it's those 2 chapters. So if you didn't get your hand on Fourth Wing Holiday Edition, it is just that. You're not missing any sideline context. It's just Dane's point of view in those chapters.
I really respect that she did that. And not that it's like you have to buy this so you can get stuff that's relevant to the story that you're going to read.
It's not something that is 100% needed.
Fun, exclusive content if you want it.
And I appreciate that she got that from Tracy Wolf because I know I've learned that Rebecca has been very heavily influenced by Jennifer and Tracy. So knowing that she took that idea from Tracy makes me very happy.
If she has been heavily influenced by Jennifer, then I think I'm gonna stick with my theory that this is a Poppy and Cass.
I agree.
And not a freaking
I'm hoping
Tamlin.
We're gonna talk about some theories on if Xaden is Tamlin or if he's Cass from Blood and Ash.
We already have our Tamlin of the story.
I'm not. God. I can't. There's too many people with theories right now for this book's love story, and it doesn't really leave you... This book does not answer those.
Oh, great. Love that.
So...
I'm still gonna hold on to it.
It leaves you with more questions. And I hate that.
She's not even started writing the 3rd book.
Yeah, I know. I'm not prepared. So I feel like she's gonna wait for some people's reviews on this book. But diving in, so we do go straight into the timeline with her meeting her brother, finding out Xaden knew, and going through that whole traumatic event.
Yes.
But we all also know from the excerpt that Rebecca released that she does end up back at the college somehow.
Yeah.
But we didn't know how. So, do you want to kick off on going over... Again, guys, we're not going to give big spoilers, like this is who dies, but we are going to talk about the general story, so if you don't want to know any of it, then just clock out now.
Yeah, come back and read it.
I will sadly say that this did not let down. It is not a book 4 in a series. It is definitely a book 2 where it gets better, in my opinion.
Yeah. So after Violet, has her discussion with her brother, they come to, I guess, terms, and later, the, assembly meeting or whatever, the people that head over this rebellion place, they agreed to send Violet and the other cadets back to Bascave. because they decided that their absence would be more suspicious than if they came back. And so as soon as they get back, though, they obviously have to tell a modified version of the truth that they have been through.
Yeah.
Because their history has been wiped. They don't know the true enemy out there, but Violet and her friends that went out in the end of Fourth Wing, they did find the truth.
Yeah.
So they go back to Basgaith and they have to pretend basically like nothing happened and that they
Well,
don't know everything.
I think it's important to note in this book, one thing Xaden does, and one thing Rebecca said that he does, is keep secrets. Which he has done something that sadly I was taught to do as a kid. And it's not secrets, it's just not the full truth.
Oh, yeah.
So that is something that I am very well at doing, which I'm not happy to say that I'm good at that, but when Xaden's telling half-truths, I'm like, yeah, I understand that. Because you're not telling the full truth, but you're not lying to them either.
Yeah, so Violet gets mad at Xaden eventually, and she's like, I would never lie to you. And he's like, first of all, I've never lied to you. I have only just not told you everything.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, I'm like, Xaden, I understand where he's coming from because he's keeping her safe.
Yeah.
So, like, I do this without even thinking a lot of the time in consideration of someone's feelings, where I only tell them half-truths, which sucks. But it's reality for a lot of the time. So I don't think it's secret-keeping, in my opinion.
I mean, he does have his secrets, but he's a dark, mysterious man. I saw a meme of someone saying that, like, Violet being surprised when the dark, mysterious man she went for has secrets.
Yeah, like, that was something that frustrated me a lot, because she's like, oh, Taryn has secrets, and I'm fine with that. You're fine with the dragon that you're bonded with has secrets, but you're not okay with the guy that you like has secrets? One
thing that I do respect about the writing and about Violet's character is that she recognizes that she's being illogical with being mad at Xaden. Because at one point she's like, fuming over it, and Taryn's like, telling her that it's pointless, and she's like, don't bring logic into an emotional debate.
Yes, he does say that, and I also appreciate that, I think it was Imogen? Is that her name?
Yeah. The pink-haired one?
Yes, Imogen was telling her that, there's always going to be battle axes in the wardrobe.
Yeah. Like, that she used it as an analogy that, like, if, I can't remember the exact analogy. It was like, if a battle axe came out of your armoire at you and almost killed you, you'd want to know if there were more.
Yeah.
And Imogen was like, well, in this world, there's always battle axes.
Yeah, with everybody. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, no matter who Violet picks in her society, there's always going to be something hidden. Yeah. Because that's just the reality of their life.
I think when this really clicked for her, which I know the moment it did, and when she stopped being mad. But I don't know if I should really say that until later, because it's kind of a big spoiler.
I agree.
But there is one moment when she's talking with someone, and they say, well, everybody has information that is classified above them.
Yep.
His information is just classified above you. And she's like, okay, fair point.
See?
Fair point.
Like, I understand that. I think that was also Imogen who said that. Like, I'm just thinking, like, at all the times, he's not keeping a secret because he wants to. It's because he has to. Yeah. And he has all of those people on his back. Yeah. Like, legitimately on his back.
Has her too.
So I'm just like, girl. I know, right?
I do like that she knows that she's being illogical, and she does not spend this entire book being mad at him. That is, thankfully, this was not another Kingdom of Flesh and Fire incident. I was dreading that. I was like, I cannot deal with this the whole book if she's just pissed off at him for no reason. Because Mans does have a reason.
Poppy was mad at Cass for the
entire book.
The entire time. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Everything's fine. That's me after this book right now. Like, I can't talk to anybody.
Terrified.
Everything is fine.
The last, 200 pages of Fourth Wing were, gut-wrenching, so I'm not... I'm bracing myself. I'm gonna have to be out of public when I read the last pages.
It's the 4 words at the end that got me.
You better stop saying that, because my curiosity is... I will not spoil it for myself, but the curiosity is getting the better of me.
Don't. I told you, I will come at you if you skip to that end. You need to be as gut-wrenched as I was.
I want to be surprised. So luckily I like to be surprised, so I'm not going to read it, but, the temptation is definitely there. You keep saying it.
It's the last 4. It's just 4 words. It's like the last freaking 4 words of Gilmore Girls, and I'm like, what the frick? Yeah. But I know that's not going to get any more books. This one gets more books, so it's better. It's better. It is only better because it gets more books. If it didn't have any more books, I would be pissed just as bad as... I've never thrown anything at my TV watching a show before. If anybody out there is a Gilmore Girls fan and you watch The Year in a Life...
I've not watched it.
Okay, this has been out for a hot minute. If it's a spoiler to you, I'm sorry. Rory ends up pregnant.
Oh, I knew that.
The last words out of all of the episodes of the season is I'm pregnant.
That's it?
That's it.
Aww.
Mom, I'm pregnant. But there's no who's the father. She slept with Jess. She slept with Luke. She slept with the Chewbacca.
Oh, man.
We get no answers to an ending. So I'm just like, that makes me mad. Because I know that everyone's too old now to make another season. Or give us any answers. So now I know there's another book. But it's a whole year before I get another book.
She hasn't even started writing the third one, apparently.
So I don't even know how to feel about that, because she doesn't even know where she's going with it at this point.
Lord.
Well, she does, but, like, she doesn't. Things have not been put on paper yet. They're not solidified.
So, before we get into the spoilery bit of this, I guess we need to talk about, like, we've kind of discussed, like, where the book starts off and leads us in.
Yeah.
Our overall, like, impressions and the vibe that is set in this.
Okay. I want to say that everybody's on edge because they're all keeping secrets or telling half-truths. Violet's distant from everybody because she doesn't want to harm anybody in any situation, and they're going through more classes. And one thing that I told Laken before we started the podcast was Xaden's warning in the beginning was the first year is about survival, and the second year is when you lose your humanity. I think, and this is personally for me, when Liam died, I lost my humanity in this book because I've seen so many people.
All of my trust for the characters went out the window after Liam. Like, I have spent this entire book on edge that our favorites, our friend group is going to be off.
Oh, yeah, because this is all written from a scribe's point of view after. It's already record.
The only person that we know is safe is Justinia, because she's the one that transcribed.
Yeah. Woo! Yay! Justinia's alive!
No one else's fate is guaranteed in this book.
And I will say, though, that was a bit of a spoiler for Justinia to be the one that wrote this, because she's in danger for part of it.
She is. This book is... So, Fourth Wing is Basgiath is a war college.
Yes.
They're training to be military, essentially. Yes. So this is heavy on war influences. And it goes even more so into that in this book. And we really start to see the not so black and white sides of war. And it's... I know Rebecca is actually getting a little bit of flack for this right now, and a lot of people are mad at her with everything that's been going on with, like, Palestine and all that.
Yeah.
Not getting into those political stuff. But the heavy influence is that war is not a black and white. It's a very gray area that we have. It's more touched on in this book that, you know...
It is.
There's no good side in a war. And we're really finding that out in this book. So...
Yeah, which...
That is my biggest impression overall from this book. That there's no really true good guys.
Yeah, it's hard to be on anyone's side, but also being that she was the one who is writing these stories.
Yeah.
Theoretically and technically. The question is, what language is she writing it in?
Oh, Violet or Justinia?
Justinia. What language is she writing this in? Because the scribes know so many different languages.
Right. Well,
and it's not said.
I can't even remember. I thought it said common tongue or something. I can't even remember. It says into the modern language, so that's really like... It's really vague.
It's vague, because we don't know who wins the war.
No, we don't.
Because this would be after the war.
Yeah.
So what is modern language?
Who knows? We don't know.
And that's the same question for Fourth Wing when we were reading it. It's also still written in the modern language. So it's kind of guessing everything can go any direction.
No, there's definitely a feeling while reading this book that no one is safe. This is not a book that you can, like, feel comfortable or confident in the characters remaining well.
And I also
making
think
it to the end of the series.
The second year classes that they're going through in college are insane.
Oh yeah, so they have this what are they?
RSC.
It's Writer's Survival class or something. It's like a survival where they're basically like supposed to
abandoned and tortured.
Yeah, they're like essentially in simulations of being in enemy territory.
Yep.
Like either being dropped behind lines and not knowing where you are and having to find your way out, or like interrogations. They're interrogated. It's some like heavy crap for just a class. Like
it's insane for it in just one class, and people.
This is a messed up college.
And I also think it's important to note that where she said that we do get the healers and the infantry, and they're coming in, and the scribes are coming in more. That class is not just for the work.
No, it's not. It's for all of them.
I want to say, like, basically, Basgath is literally a Air Force college, because the infantry would be the Army college. So their Air Force is on dragons, and the other Air Forces of the other lands would be griffins, or
griffins.
What is the other? The
bad people.
The bad people.
The real enemy of the whole story.
Yeah, the Venin and their wyverns. Brain. So yeah, those storylines. Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, there's that Air Force, and we're having like medieval battles.
Definitely. This is the air. What's the word? I can't even think of it. The aerial. My brain's farted.
Infantry.
I can't remember the word.
It's fine. It's not important.
It's the aerial army. That's what they are for the dragons.
Because then the infantry is the ground men.
They're just the standard army.
The standard army. We don't have any navy army, technically. Not that we've seen yet. We get some water people in here.
There has been mention of isles.
So I know.
Maybe we'll get some more interesting things in the next book.
So we'll see what happens there. But we're going to give a big, quick spoiler warning, because
we've talked about pretty much all that we can.
We've talked about everything we can without spoiling anything.
So much happens. So much.
But if you're looking to pick this book up or start Fourth Wing, highly recommend reading Fourth Wing. Prepare to be gutted. This book does make you feel a lot of different emotions very quickly, just like Tracy Wolf does with her writing. And it does keep you intrigued with the politics like Jennifer does. In my personal opinion, I think Tracy's really good at captivating writers, but I think Jennifer is really good at pulling in the political and the world building.
Yeah.
So I think Rebecca took both of the best and put them into one.
I think she does better in the political world building even than JLA did.
Yeah. So I think
This is heavily political.
Yes. And I appreciate it. You know I love me some politics.
I do too. I greatly appreciate the way her world building has been set up in this book. The little sprinklets that she gives at the beginning of every chapter, and through Violet being a scribe, is just genius.
Also,
in my opinion.
Another thing I want to note: Sarah J. Maas has not reviewed this book.
She might have, but
it's
not on the cover.
It didn't get on the cover, which is really surprising if she did review it and it didn't get on the cover.
I mean, I don't
because it's Sarah J. Maas, and she's one of the best known.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's a slight. I hope there's not a
Don't
slight
let there
rivalry.
be beef.
But if there's beef,
I can't choose. I know who I would choose, but it would be really hard to choose.
Who?
You know my favorite series.
I know, but you said that's a 6. Fourth Wing's a 6 for you.
Don't make me choose. I can't choose.
This is her first series. This is her first. This is basically Fourth Wing is her ACOTAR. Sarah J. Maas.
ACOTAR was not her first.
Was it Throne of Glass that was her first?
Throne of Glass was her first.
Okay, well then you're
Don't make me choose. There can't be beef between them.
But I'm scared there is, because there's not a review.
I don't care if there's beef. I'll still enjoy both. It won't change anything.
All right. Spoiler warning coming at you hot. Please back away if you don't want spoilers for part 1. You just need to go on out. We're gonna keep it as light spoilers as we can, but we're still gonna talk. We're not gonna give the biggest spoiler.
No, I don't think we're probably just gonna touch on some of the events that happened.
Yeah, we just want to talk about some stuff. Just talk about some stuff before we dive into part 2, which is going to come up next week for those of you who want to listen to both episodes. So, going in, one thing we get once we first start with the brother in the meeting, her brother changed his last name.
Yeah.
I don't think that's important
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, obviously, I understand why he had to,
Yeah.
because he couldn't be going around introducing himself as a dead person.
Yes, but I also think it's very important to note.
Oh yeah, the meaning of his name.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I could be wrong, but I think the way you pronounce his new name, he's changed his name from Sorengel to now he's Colonel. Is it Lieutenant Colonel or Colonel Lieutenant? I don't remember.
I don't remember
Something
that
like
one.
that. I think it's Colonel Lieutenant or Lieutenant. I do not remember. I think it's Colonel Lieutenant Ashry.
It's Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel Ashry.
Ashry, yeah.
Ashry, I think is how you say it, because I know the AIS in it's an Irish name for, like, I know Ashlyn.
Yeah.
Is, or Ashley. That's how you say it, pronounce or spell it in Irish Gaelic is AIS, because I met someone that had that name. So that's just my best pronunciation. I'm sorry if that's wrong. That's just me going off of clues.
Yeah.
I guess that's the best word I can come up with that. But yeah, so he changed his name and is going by a whole new identity.
And I think that's going to be important to note for the political point, because he is playing a big role in the politics right now.
He's one of the leaders of the rebellion.
Yep.
He's like, it's him, Xaden, and then there's this kind of council of 6 other people.
And the council does not trust Violet at all.
No, they don't. Which is, again, which I do enjoy the common sense of these characters.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, they're like, oh, we can't trust her, she's the general's daughter, and then every time they say that, Brennan's like, I'm her son.
Yeah.
And they're like, but you're different.
But you've proved yourself in the last past 6 years. She's not proving herself now.
I get it, but, like, it's still funny that they're like, oh, we can't trust her, even though she's doing all of this crazy crap, and, you know, is labeled herself a traitor for them, so.
So, outside of him changing his name, they talk. We obviously know that Violence is no longer happy with Xaden at all.
Yeah, she's mad at him. She still loves him, but she wants him to stop keeping secrets. She wants him to be fully transparent with her. And we all know, anybody that has common sense knows, and she eventually comes to this conclusion, thankfully, that is not possible with someone that's leading a rebellion.
Yeah.
He's always going to have classified information. It's not that he doesn't trust you. It's not that he, you know, doesn't think you're capable of handling it. There's always classified information in war.
Yeah, and there's even classified information in a lot of people's lives. Like, imagine an FBI agent, he can't tell his wife everything because it's classified.
It's classified.
And she doesn't get mad at him that he's holding classified. He's an FBI agent. Like, he doesn't have a choice. That's basically what's happening. And I'm like, you legit looked up to somebody who is top secret classified, dark, secret, and mysterious. It was like, yo, I want no secrets. Okay, do you have the clearance you need for this classified information? No. Are you able to be trusted with secrets?
Yeah,
no.
I think Violet, a little bit of her, like, maybe her fatal flaw here is her pride.
Yeah.
I don't think she would ever admit that to herself. But, like, I don't think sees herself as only a second-year student. You know, she sees herself, like, up here as the leader of the rebellion, and she's not.
Yeah, she's definitely not the leader of the rebellion, and I think you are very correct.
She still doesn't know a lot of things, and it comes across very, like, blatantly when she makes decisions, and then she's like, oh, crap, I don't know as much as I thought.
And that happens all of the time with her, where she's like, oh, I know, and I'm like, you don't know, though. You are acting adolescent, and you don't have the answers. Taryn, I do appreciate, during the first part of this book, tells, like, I'll make sure they give you more information. Yeah. At least, like, the decency of a blanket, like, hey, you're going to be searched now, by the way.
Yeah, Taryn is amazing, as always.
I love Taryn.
He's good and wise. I don't know if any of you guys out there have seen it, but did you see the thing I sent you about who Taryn is based off of?
No.
So, Taryn is actually based off of Rebecca's grumpy old bulldog.
That's hilarious!
She said she got, like, the inspiration for his grumpy, like, old man personality from her English bulldog.
I love that, though. So. I will say, I wonder if Tracy has the same kind of dog, because Hudson is the same.
Hudson, yeah.
I wonder what Hudson's inspiration was, because I swear Taryn's just a older version.
I found it hilarious that Taryn was based off a bulldog.
I love that, though.
This giant, like, you know, fear-inducing dragon was based off a little English bulldog.
Who was like, I will eat you.
Speaking of dragons, Andarna.
Yeah.
In the last book, we do find out that she grew rapidly, and
Yes.
she's big now.
Yes.
We find out very quickly in this book that she is, spoilers if you haven't reached it, because it's right in the beginning, but that she is a black dragon as well.
Yes.
And it later goes on to say that she has a scorpion tail, which I don't really think is that big of a spoiler yet.
No.
It's just, but I think that's who's on the spine. I think it's Andarna.
Yeah.
Because it has the scorpion-looking tail on the spine.
I would agree with that. I didn't look at the spine.
That's just my theory about the spine. Little tidbit that I was thinking about.
No, you're right. I see it. I didn't look at the dragon, which I think that's the same dragon that's on every chapter.
Yeah.
It is.
We get a very adolescent teenager Andarna through this book, where she's very snippy and very sassy.
God, I love her. And she can't fly right now, which was a problem for the first half of part 1.
Mm-hmm. She was I think she was asleep for like all of that though, pretty much. Yeah. She was in and out of it, but yeah.
Like she came in with tidbits, especially when because she wasn't flying, because she was in this internal sleep for 2 months, she was missing classes, and because of that, Violet got punished.
Was getting punished because Andarna was not able. They wanted. So I think to describe this, we would need to introduce a character that we were introduced to. Yeah. So when Violet gets back, with along with the rest of the people, Colonel Atos, which is Dane's father and the person that sent them basically to die in the first book, he has this new commandant brought in to like kind of oversee the way things are going in Vazgaith. Yeah. Because he believes that Violet and her friends need to be.
Yeah, which also he does not hide the fact that he's out to get them.
No, they have assassination, like assassins come after their
multiple attempts on the whole group. Attempts. Yeah,
and they're successful with 6 of them. I think 6 of their original 10 die. Yeah. So that like the only people that were on that mission that are still alive is Bodhi, Imogen, Garrick, Xaden, and Violet. Oh, it's 5. Mm-hmm. It's 5 of them. Everyone else go.
Nadine died first, right?
Nadine wasn't in
it, but she got killed very quickly by one of the assassins.
Yeah, she was the first to die by an assassin, because there was an assassin after Violet, and she was pretending to be Violet as a joke, and then she got hurt. Neck snapped. Yeah. So it was a joke. That was a holy cow moment. I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again.
It was quick. It was not lacking mercy.
It was a shock factor, which I think is almost every death she pulls in this is a giant shock factor.
Also important at that same scene when Atos, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, Atos, yeah. Atos' father not only basically threatens to kill everyone, they also have Xaden's graduation that same day, and Xaden gets
put on the front lines.
But the problem with that we all knew coming was that Taryn and
Skull
weren't gonna be separated. They don't like being separated. So they got a letter, and I was just on the page, but I've lost it now, stating that they were only allowed to fly out to each other every 2 weeks for 2 days.
So both Xaden and Violet have a leave of 48 hours, or 2 days, every 14 days. Yeah. But their distance that they are is basically like a whole day.
Yeah, it's a day ride, because if you look at the map in your book, Vazgath is the farthest to the Lucerys province? Is that what it's called?
Where?
This one.
I've been pronouncing it as Lucerys. I don't know if that's right.
Lucerys province is near Vazgath in the mountains.
And Samara's all the way
And the Samara is all the way on the other side of their main country. Yeah. So it's a day's ride. They basically only have 24 hours together.
If that. So between both of them having. Is it an airplane?
Yeah.
It's really loud.
Sorry. I live near an airport, and it was.
Forget that.
At first, I was thinking, is there a helicopter outside? Because that's happened before. Oh, and then the other part of me was like, that's really loud, because I could hear it through my headphones.
Man.
Sorry for the distraction. Go back to what you were talking about.
So between both of them having every 14 days off, they see each other every week. Like every Saturday.
Yeah, because
they
they're switching back and forth who goes. So their 2 weeks ends up being overlapped so that they see them every week.
But everybody in leadership is trying to keep Violet and Xaden apart, so they see each other even less.
Yes, because they schedule class things.
Where she gets taken and
kidnapped, taken,
interrogated.
Xaden gets put on duty for 24 hours when he's gone, so Taryn and like they're taking their two strongest and making them weak because they're not together.
And because they think that they know something, so they're trying to keep them from passing
information.
Secret information.
And seeing each other. So it's really interesting to see that dynamic happening, and that happens basically all throughout part 1, and then we have a lot of the RSC classes happening, where they are taken out into basically being kidnapped, drugged to the point where they cannot hear or talk to their dragons, but their dragons can still hear them. Set in a place where the other team's dragons are hunting you, and your dragons are hunting the other team.
So,
a lot of people die.
Anybody that has read the first part, if you've reached chapter 25, you know where I'm going with this. When they do the first drop for the land nav in this class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other dragons are hunting them, we come across a dragon that we met in the 4th wing that none of us liked.
Yes,
it was
Jack's
dragon.
That's not in chapter 25.
No, but I was very suspicious and did not understand why his dragon was randomly hanging around.
Yeah, right?
Because I was like, I don't think dragons randomly hang around after their riders have been killed. I'm pretty sure they go back home. And so the fact that we saw Bade in that class, I was like, oh, something's amiss here. And then later in chapter 25, we get the big shock factor that Jack is alive. They mended him to the point of health again, and now he's oddly kind to everybody.
I know too
trust
much
him anymore. I still have not gotten to anything. I don't trust Jack still, as does Violet. At the point I'm in, no one trusts him anymore, even though he's
nice.
Turned a new leaf or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm trying not to spoil anything for her, so I'm going to.
The fact that you said that makes me think that he's coming back into the picture, because where I'm at right now, he's not in the picture anymore. But I definitely thought it was suspicious that Bade was there. He was not alive.
He killed multiple. He killed people.
He killed
orange
one person.
dragon. Yeah.
Oh God, do we want to talk about the orange dragon in the beginning of the book?
Which
Solus?
Oh, Schnitzel, when he knocked out half of the 3rd section.
The new commandant that we were talking about, that was basically a torture guy. He's an interrogator.
Yeah, Solus's dragon with one eye.
Yeah, Solus is his dragon. He's a very unstable. So all the different colored dragons have kind of different personalities, and orange are the unpredictable ones.
Yeah, green are the most offensive.
Yeah, they're the most sensible.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have a green dragon. Maybe I don't know.
What was red again?
I can't remember what red stood for.
Liam's was red.
Dane's is red. Sloane's is red too. I'm trying to think of other people that have red dragons. I don't know. Brennan oddly has an orange dragon.
Yeah.
So I guess
I have
your death
theories.
for 6 years can be unpredictable.
I agree. I agree with that statement.
I can't remember what each color of dragon does, but I remember that the oranges were considered unpredictable.
Yes. Yeah, that dragon just...
Yeah, he took out a third of a wing.
Yeah, on purpose.
Already bonded riders.
Yes. And killed them.
And with no repercussions.
Taryn was mad and just showed up and made him back the F down.
Okay, so we can agree that protective men in fantasy series can be hit or miss. Sometimes they can be annoying like Dane, and sometimes they can be hot like Xaden.
I don't think... See, there's a big difference for me from Dane and Xaden, just like there's a big difference between Hudson and Jackson.
She can handle herself kind of protective, but at the same time, if you touch her, I'm going to want to kill you.
Yes.
And then also sheltering like Dane was.
Yeah.
But as much as we can agree on that, I freaking love how protective Taryn is over Violet. Every time he shows up, I'm like, yes.
So if
eat those people.
Now that you have said that he's based off of a bulldog, I feel like Violet is his chew toy. And he's like, you don't mess with my chew toy. That's my chew toy.
That's mine.
That's my favorite chew toy.
Only I'm allowed to insult her.
You touch that chew toy, I'm going to be mad, man.
I also found it really funny. At one point, when Violet is going on one of her emotional, escapades, Taryn is like, I cannot believe I am forced to deal with the horror that is 21-year-olds.
I love Taryn so much.
And I was like, oh, man, this grumpy old man dragon doesn't want to be here.
He is very protective because it's not just her life, it's his too.
It's not his. It's not just hers. It's his. It's
his made it. It's a baby dragon,
possibly Andarna's as well. But also we have to remember that Taryn lost his previous rider, and it nearly killed him.
Yep.
So
when he bonds strong because he's such a strong and dangerous dragon.
Violet is only the second person he's ever bonded. You dogs are going nuts.
A moment of silence while my dogs bark their heads off because I don't know what's happening.
Oh, Cosmo's right out the door.
Okay, we're good. It's quiet. It's quiet again. All right. So Taryn in this situation, very grumpy, very overprotective, but he's mated. You have all of these lives on top of him, but I think it's because the stronger the dragon, the bigger the dragon, the stronger the bond. Mm-hmm. Just like Xaden with her.
Let's go.
She hasn't had many before him.
No, she hasn't.
So I think when the dragon's bigger, the bond is stronger, which means they get a stronger signet, which means more of their power is connected to that human. Mm-hmm. So with littler dragons like green and red and stuff like that, it's still a strong bond, but it's not as strong.
Possibly. That's good.
It's a theory. It's not anything else besides that.
We do have to remember that Taryn is the second biggest dragon.
Yep.
He's only second to one other dragon in the entire species with his size and his age. So, no, not his age, just his size.
Yeah. It's the general.
It's General Melgren's dragon,
yeah.
Kodog. The other black dragon. He's the only one bigger than Taryn.
Yep. But then we have the new one.
Oh yeah. Well, there's Andarna, who's now a black dragon.
Yeah.
And then apparently he said there was also a couple other black dragons that
Two
had been
new ones
that are now new. So I am very curious because I want to go back and see if I can find in Fourth Wing what black dragons were a symbol of, because I don't think it's a coincidence that we have so many new black dragons coming and it's a time of war.
I'm also curious if she is the daughter of the general's dragon.
Kodog?
Yeah.
Oh. We don't know Andarna's parents. My theory is that she's royalty.
Yeah.
Because no one tells her what to do.
No.
And she makes a ton of bad. She bonded Violet as a baby, which is unheard of, and no one told her no.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think she has some title to her, because I feel like if not, then Taryn would have been like, go back home. No.
Yeah. So I'm very curious to see her storyline, because if this book is just about her, mm-hmm. instead of all of these other characters, I'm curious to know.
My theory is that Andarna is a child of one of the Empyrean.
Yeah.
Because we know the Empyrean is the ruling council of the dragons, which I'm really hoping we maybe see more of in the later books.
I agree.
Because right now they're just kind of a distant idea.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see where the storyline's going, because I know there's a lot that has to happen.
Yeah, there's still 3 more books to come.
But being that a lot of humans die a lot of the time, I'm curious to know who the main character of the book truly is.
Yeah, I hope it's Violet.
We all hope it's Violet.
I love Violet.
But my curiosity always gets the best of me. So, going in a little bit further, we talked about the RCS and them meeting everybody. We've talked about Jack coming back. And then we have basically the ending of part 1. Mm-hmm. Which do you wanna? You're smiling at. She's smiling at me.
Basically, so Violet comes back to school with the secret of the wyvern and the venom, right?
Yes.
Which none of their general population know about. They've been lied to. So she's being hunted by assassins because secrets die with the people that bear them.
Yeah.
It's like a prevalent thing. And eventually, Violet makes a big slip up, and she steals this highly classified journal from the archives, and she's caught with it. And then she's interrogated. Because obviously she's now been caught with proof that she knows something's up and she stole something highly classified. So she's interrogated heavily, might I add. Very heavily. It was very painful to read through. It was reminiscent of another book I've read, and it hurt my soul a lot.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of mentions because eventually Violet got to the point of she never broke. She never gave up the information.
Yeah.
But Violet got to the point of possibly hallucinating. I don't know. She said she was hallucinating Liam being there with her to support her.
Yeah.
And that gutted me more than anything else in the book. Like the fact that she was envisioning him there to support her, and he was just like so loving and calm and being like, it's okay, you're doing a good job. And I was like, I'm in pain. This hurts more than him dying. Oh, it was rough.
I'm rereading it, so
yeah, that was painful. I think that's gonna be the biggest part of the book. I think maybe up until this point, it's the biggest part that's stuck with me.
Yeah, you have a lot to go here. She still has 200 pages left.
Yeah, a lot can happen in 200 pages.
A lot.
A girl can change your mind. Pages. We'll find out in the next part how gutted I really am over this book.
I don't know if it's. I don't want to say anything because if I say whatever I say is a spoiler, so we're gonna avoid spoiling things.
So did you have anything to say about the interrogation process? Because I've said my piece about it.
I don't. It's heartbreaking for me. I don't know. I think this class is fucked up.
Yeah, this was outside of the class.
It's fudged up real bad. I think the whole class, I'm just thinking, I'm like, what do they, because they're hiding secrets so much, I'm like, what are they expecting to happen on the other side to the point that they have made that this is acceptable, and they're also, like, concocting new drugs to give.
Yeah, to block their signets and their connections to their dragons.
Like, those things you do not use on griffins. I'm sorry. Those are not needed.
I did think it was, what is it? I thought they were planning on using it on their own population, their own riders.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, because, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that, a big part in this book, is Violet gets a little distant from her friends and her best friend Rhiannon.
Yeah.
And Rhiannon eventually corners her and is like, dude, what's going on with you? Like, something's up.
Yeah.
Violet kind of breaks and has a moment of being like, you know, you don't understand. You've not seen what's out there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want you to see what's out there because it's awful.
Yeah. And
Rhiannon goes on to say, like, you know, how unfair it is that the War College is set up the way it is, and like losing people unnecessarily to stuff like the parapet and the gauntlet, and you know, every way that people die is unnecessary. And Violet's like, it's really not. Like, she's like, as cruel and as inhumane as this place is, it is setting us up for what's out there. And I was like, wow, like it is, because that's the thought I had, and I was like, this is cruel and inhumane. How do you put people through this? But
yeah, it is giving them a reality of what's out there, and
that's kind of what that class is like with the interrogations. It's like it's inhumane and cruel, but also at the same time, like it's giving them a preparation for what they're about to face.
And also, this is another kind of more theory for moving forward, because we've talked about a lot of what's happened in part one, but like parts of my brain when I was reading part one, and now that I'm rereading it, I'm thinking on the lines of, this is one side of the story. This is two sides of the story. Two areas of the map have been talked about in their politics. Like, we're rebellion against the Buren, and we're fighting against the Griffins, and we're hiding. And then I'm thinking, what's the villain side? Like, what's their side of the story? Yeah. And I hate to be that person where I'm like, but why do they think they're the good guys?
I don't know if they think they're the good guys.
But do you really think they think they're the bad guys?
I know that they know. I think the only thing they care about is power.
Yeah.
And they said something, and I want to find it. It was one of the tidbits at the very beginning of the chapters where they talked about Well, his one says, it is somewhat fitting that the only weapon capable of killing a Dark Wielder is the same thing that drove them to the soullessness power. But there was another like chapter beginning where they talked about, uh, oh, here it is. So this is an excerpt. Like I said, if you've not read this at the you should have. Everybody knows if you've gotten to this point. The beginning of the chapters start with like tidbits of histories and facts and politics of the world.
Yeah.
So in chapter 45, um, this is from the Guide to Vanquishing the Venom, right? And so it says that where's it at?
This is past part 1, isn't it?
Oh shoot, this is. Never mind. I'm going to talk about this later.
Haha,
I'm going to put a pin in this.
Go to page 526 for me for a second.
It was only talking about the fact of Venom having power, though. That's where I was trying to get to.
Go to page 526. I just need to see if you have a misprint like I do. I
526.
don't think
Did
it's
you
a misprint.
have a misprint?
I don't think it's a misprint. I just think it's an ink spot.
526, 526. Where?
Yeah, mine's an ink spot.
Oh, you do?
It's not like a misprint. It's just a spot of ink.
Yeah.
That's on my book.
I don't know.
I just want.
It'll be interesting to see if we find out the reasons the Venom do stuff. If there's anything more than the drive for power.
Yeah. I'm always the girl that's like, what's the villain's point of view?
Yeah.
What is the villain? Like, I don't know if I trust that you call him the villain.
Well,
I hate to say that too, because
that was the biggest point of this book, is that the people that they were led to believe were their enemies were not.
Yeah, and now they think the same thing, so how many times could that still be the loop that we go through?
Yeah, I definitely think, though, that this is something that you even see in real life, that to distract people from a bigger problem,
you give them
a
smaller
bigger
one.
enemy, is that you turn two groups of people that would have a common enemy against each other.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what happened, and Navier and Promiel have been fighting each other for centuries when their focus should have been directed elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. So, outside of that, do you have anything else that you want to touch on?
I don't really think so. I have a lot of things to say about part 2. And that's where I'm starting to get into. So I think I've said all I've got to say about part 1.
Okay. Alright, so if you are intrigued and you want to know... Oh,
one more thing.
Go for it.
We do find out Violet's mom... Well, this could always change. Like I said, I've not finished the book. Things can always change. But as of part 1, we know General Sorrengail's alliances. And all the theories that we had about her in book 1 have been, we find out the truth. We find out that Violet's mom does know the truth.
Yes.
But that she did not orchestrate trying to die. We find out why she sent Violet to the Riders.
Which I had that inkling when I was originally reading part 1, because she talks about her mom very often.
She says, she's like, yeah, my mom will know I'm telling the truth. She's like, she won't kill me.
Yeah.
She'll maybe chew me out, but, and want the truth, but she's not going to kill me on sight. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
So
that disproves this theory.
That disproves that her mom's completely evil, but is her dad still alive? Jack was supposed to be dead.
Oh no, I'm not saying that her dad cannot be alive. There was another theory that I had talked about in our last episode that people thought Taryn's old rider could have been Brennan's dad, like biological dad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was disproved because Violet talks often about how much Brennan looks just like their dad. Like he's the picture of him. So that has been disproved as well.
And my thought process also is her dad could still be bad.
Oh, I don't see him being bad.
He wrote the folklore.
He didn't write it.
But he had it.
He had it. I don't see bad is which bad term are you using? Are you using bad in terms of like a traitor, or are you talking bad in terms of like he's the enemy?
The enemy.
I don't think so.
It could be.
I really don't think he is, because I feel like he was trying. We could have different opinions on this, but I think he was trying to steer Violet in the right direction.
Okay, I'm going to say this as a heads up. You know how good I am. With foreseeing futures.
Listen, I am also good at it. Just because you called that one and the other series does not mean I can't have deductive reasoning.
No, you do definitely have deductive reasoning, but I'm thinking if Brennan's alive and he was supposed to be dead, and if Jack's alive and he was supposed to be dead, her dad coming back
It's
is not far-fetched.
No, I'm not saying that that's not far-fetched. I'm just saying that I don't think he's on the enemy's side because he gave Violet, you know, illegal books.
Yeah.
He taught her everything she needs to know. He prepared her for the truth in as many ways as he could without actually telling her the truth. In my mind, that's what he did for her. Because she is able to take all this and be like, well...
But he's also doing what Xaden does and tells half-truths.
Yeah, but Xaden's not the enemy. We have agreed that...
Xaden, I need you to
It was
finish this book!
Don't say that, you're making me think things. I'm gonna be really mad if I have to come back next week and I'm like, okay, so... I was wrong freaking again.
I just need you to finish the book. So you're going to be texting me. I'm waiting for a phone call, guys. I'm waiting for a phone call.
At this point, I think everybody in Violet's life that has died is just going to be resurrected.
You're right.
Before Liam's going to be back, and we're going to be like, oh, hey, dude. You were really missed.
No. Liam's dead.
I know.
Liam's dead for sure.
She couldn't bring him back. She's made too many plot points about him being dead.
Yeah, I was like, Liam's dead for sure. Liam is Xavier.
Yeah. If there's not a body you can see, they're probably going to come back.
Yeah.
That's what the general rule of thumb is. Brennan never had his body found. Jack's body was never found.
Her dad's body.
I don't know. I don't remember about that. I'd have to go back.
It's never been mentioned.
It's never been mentioned, so we don't know.
So then we don't know if it was found or not found.
The way you're saying this makes me think we're going to have a, and there my dad was at the end. And then Violet's going to spend book 3 being mad at her dad.
It's fine. Everything's okay. We're going to be okay. So, for the highly anticipated book, I'm not going to give my official rating until next episode.
I can't, because I haven't finished it. Even though I'm pretty sure I know what my rating's going to be.
It's okay. We'll get there next episode. So, keep reading if you haven't finished. We're not going to talk about part 2 at all. So, part 1 is completed. It's been 5 days, 6 days since the release?
6 days.
6 days since
5 days.
It's been 5 days. Yeah.
I was counting midnight.
Yeah.
It's just technically a different day.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I also forgot to say hello. So hello and goodbye from YouTube, any podcast platform you're on. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, follow us on Instagram. All of our social media accounts are attached, so you can see us there. We'll be sending updates on everything as we go. We're going to avoid trying to spoil everything because I know right now I've been doing a social media blackout. So if you haven't seen us post on Biblio Madness, it's because I'm ignoring Instagram because I didn't want to see spoilers, which now I can go on Instagram and start posting stuff again. But I was doing a blackout on Instagram until I finished the book.
I have been staying away from Instagram. I have been mostly staying off of TikTok. I've only been on there a couple times. And every time I even see Iron Flame,
you just close it. Yep.
There's only been a couple I've seen that I've watched, and luckily they've not been spoilers.
Yeah, when I was reading the book for the first time, I blacked out everything. So I understand if you're still blacking out everything. Mm-hmm. But thank you for listening. We are very excited to see you guys next episode so I can dish.
I'm excited to finish this book and finally have some formulated opinions, because at this point I'm just like, this could all be up in the air. I don't know.
Everything's up. Changed. That's how everybody is right now. I've seen a lot of people who haven't finished the book yet, who got it even on the midnight release, and they're like, I don't know how I feel currently yet, and I'm like, just finish, finish the book, and then come and we will talk for ages.
I'm excited to talk about this in detail once I finish it, because like I said, everything right now is a lot can happen in 200 pages.
Yeah. I got to the point, because I read this book and I digested it so quickly, everything kind of ran together. So when I told Laken, I was like, let's just do part 1, I had already started rereading.
That's crazy.
Part 1, so I could remember what happened in part 1 versus what happened in part 2, because my brain was just mushing everything together.
Right. I finished part 1 like a day ago, so it's pretty fresh in my mind still.
All right. Again, thank you for listening. Everybody have a great night. Like, do you have anything you want to say, or you just like to say farewell?
I'm just good with saying goodbye. See you next time.
We'll see you at the next episode. Bye, everybody.